So John, what we saw in front of the car, that was the clip that came off the car.
Right.
And then that was the 69 clip.
Exactly.
But you also have a newer clip.
Yeah,
from a 70.
Yeah, the 71.
Yeah, 71. Okay. Why did you decide to change?
Well, again, for budget constraints, it was cheaper. I mean, I just stumbled across that opportunity to buy that car for $100. So for me, it was a matter of budget, but for anybody else, if they wanted to go out and pick it up, that front clip has a much stronger steering linkage. I mean, the stabilizer bar is probably twice the strength. It's a more modernized front end. The driving capabilities, the handling was much better in 70.
So what they learned from 69, by the time they got to 70, they just redid.
Yeah, they swapped a lot of things out. As you saw before, the steering box switched from the back to the front. They moved the linkage from the rear up to the front. Everything is more heavy duty. The A-arms are stronger.
Right.
You know, so it's all around a better clip. It's pretty common for even old truck owners back in the 50s to take, not doing it in the 50s, but the cars from the 50s, taking that clip and welding it to, say, the front end of a 59 GMC or something like that, or a Ford truck.
Right.
Because the steering was much more accurate. And you could drop in a small block 350 or a tranny, whatever.
Yeah, all right. So now, talent-wise, where do we go from there? You know, I mean, obviously there are talents that you were pulling from that you have, or friends that you know.
Yeah, it's going back. You know, I had a lot of experience working with my dad on cars, and it was everything from the suspension to the motor to electrical system, the body work. I mean, I wanted to learn everything, and so I did, and over the years, I've been fortunate to work with people that know that stuff. And I was also able to work when I was in college at a shop and restoring antique cars, and I learned so much doing that because we had to tear cars down to the bare frame and redo every nut and bolt on those cars. So that, it kind of takes the fear out of you where you don't hesitate to say, can I ever get this back together? Because when you're working on $1 million car and you're doing it for a job, you come home and you work on your $800 Camaro. It's not a fear factor anymore.
The fear factor's gone,
yeah. Yeah, I'm able to save a lot of money because I'm doing the work myself, most of it.
A lot of this stuff, you are going to have to put budget into machining this. Nobody has a machine shop. I mean, we just don't have the availability of doing that sort of thing ourselves. How are you going to do that?
That's very true. And even these top dollar network shows, they're sending stuff out to the machine shops. They're not doing the work themselves. You know, they have to clean the block and do the heads and stuff like that. I mean, I assemble it and I put everything together.
Right.
But you know, I don't have the equipment to do the heads. I don't have the equipment to clean out the block or to bore the cylinders. That's just something that you have to send out regardless, and you work that into your budget.
Yeah.
So, and like I did in college, there would be friends of mine, and we would sit down, and everybody had a car to work on, so we would all get together and work on each other's cars. And somebody was good at stereos or electrical or mechanical or engines, or you know, and we just kind of make the rounds, and everybody got their cars fixed up because we shared, you know, our time and experience.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Well, I think we're going to dive into a little more of the nitty-gritty. So when we come back, we'll start getting a little greasy. All right, thanks, John.
Sure. So this is the motor I'm going to use. As you can tell, it's not in the greatest shape right now. It doesn't look like much, but it is a 454 per pretty stout, even though it's got low compression heads. I'll probably keep that about where it's at. And if I put a little bit of time and work in the heads, I can increase the horsepower. But I'm not going to push it too far. I'm really interested on this motor is trying to get it fuel injected. And that's going to be a trick because I don't have fuel injection. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to get it at a low price. Because like I said, my budget, I could probably spend half of it just buying a fuel injection system, and that's not going to happen. So I have the heads I took off. The heads probably weigh around 80 pounds a piece, but they're in good shape. Everything is solid, and the most important part is that you work with a solid core, that it doesn't have a crack. You know, it's a good shape. There's no lip on the cylinders. They're not destroyed, but you know, with a good solid core, you've got a good base to work with. You can add anything else you want on top of it. I will probably send this out once I disassemble it, and then we'll go through the process of disassembling, you know, what's left, which is the cam, the crank, the pistons, you know, the 2 gears on there, and we'll look at the block itself. I'll send the block out, have it cleaned by a local shop, again, because I don't have that kind of equipment. Nobody does. And that'll get cleaned, and then they'll check it for me for cracks. They'll hone the cylinders, put in new bearings for me, and then I'll be ready to go. I'll start assembling the motor again. And then at that point, about halfway through, I'll send the heads out, and we'll get the heads back, and we'll be probably in good shape to finish it off. I do need an intake manifold, so that's also in my budget. And again, it's not going to be elaborate. I'm just looking for that fuel injection, so it's probably going to be a part of that whole system.
Well, thank you for being a part of our first episode of Low Budget Garage, the mechanics show for the average Joe. We want to especially thank John Rose for inviting us to his garage and explaining his project and budget constraints. Thank you, John. Now, in our next episode, it will be time to get to work. So wear your mechanic's gloves and get ready to get greasy. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Leo. Welcome to Low Budget Garage, the mechanics show for the average Joe.
Now, in our first episode, John told us about his project, a '69 Camaro. He told us he had a budget of $5,000. He showed us his '69 Camaro and explained why he needed to change out the '69 subframe for a '71. It was a better performing front clip, had disc brakes, and a much stouter sway bar. The steering assembly was moved to the front for better handling, and it has disc brakes. John showed us his 454 cubic inch Chevy Big Block and explained his knowledge and experience in shops working on $1 million cars. He told us about how he and his friends shared their knowledge and how all of this background would hopefully help him in his '69 Camaro rebuild. So sit back and enjoy. Get ready as John begins disassembling the subframe of his 1969 Camaro.